I want to talk a bit more about how we got here and then the solutions. Do you think Australia, the Albanese government's premature recognition of a Palestinian state, its anti-Israel rhetoric, often criticising Israel more than Hamas, also, as you just said, refusal to act on hate chants, did all of this fuel the anti-Semitism that we've seen and indirectly lead to the attack in Bondi?
Look, I think that after October 7th, governments that recognized and called for a Palestinian state basically rewarded Hamas and rewarded the savage murder of Jews. That's how it was interpreted in the the radical Islamic quarters. The message that was heard by this action was, kill Jews, you'll get rewarded. So that's the first point. I think there are other things that could have been done and should have been done, but it's, look, it may be late in the game, but better late than never. There is time for action now. And I hope there's this action, because it certainly wasn't up to now.
Well, let's talk about the action. I mean, the reality is Australia has let too many people in who have a hatred both of Western values and of Jews. Our authorities, our intelligence agencies can barely keep up with monitoring them. So what would be your advice to Australia, to the government, to Albanese on how to contain now the threat of Islamic extremism?
Well, there is intelligence, and you have to act on intelligence. Intelligence is worthless if you don't act on it. If you know that somebody is a radical Muslim, the last thing you do is give him repeated and multiple permits for weapons. That's crazy. You should see if this was done. If this was done, that's completely insane. There's no other word for it. On the other side, you know that Jews are going to be targeted, so have the ability to have armed guards. Look, in Israel, we foiled hundreds, no, maybe more than hundreds, maybe thousands of terrorist attacks, but certainly hundreds, by having on-site people who had weapons. You cannot fight with your bare hands against somebody who comes with a Kalashnikov rifle or an automatic rifle. It's impossible. And just imagine if you had on that beach, on that Hanukkah gathering, if you had several armed people, several armed guards, 10, 15, even 5, it would be over. That's what we've seen time and again in Israel, time and again. And that saves the day. And I think that's required right now. The world has changed. Recognize the change. You can recognize it before it hits these unspeakable, tragic proportions. And, you know, you see these Holocaust survivors, you see a 10-year-old girl, Matilda, and snuffed out. That can be prevented. But you have to take action on intelligence. You have to tighten security. You have to act against radical cells. And you have to be prepared also to stop these hate marches. You can't just say democracy and freedom is not the freedom to, the freedom to shot fire in a crowded theater. It's not the freedom to say, kill all the Jews. It's not. But that's effectively what the government of Australia has allowed, and that was bound to reach these tragic outcomes, just as I warned Prime Minister Albanese. Look, it's important now. My point right now is take action now. Don't wait anymore. That's what the Jewish community in Australia was begging the government to do. And right now, I don't think anyone has to beg. I don't think you have to do anything except demand immediate action.
The Prime Minister yesterday announced some new laws. I mean, it took the death of 15 Australians, and even then that wasn't enough. He announced gun reform, gun laws. He had to be dragged kicking and screaming to hold a press conference on anti-Semitism. So he's announced some reforms, but the concern is that the action on hate preachers and hate speech are as it relates to promoting violence. Now, a lot of the hate preachers are very clever. They know not to explicitly promote violence. You just spoke about hate speech there and open support for terrorist organisations like Hamas, Hezbollah and others. So do you think this is where there needs to be stronger action on stopping the normalisation of just open support for terror?
For terror, for genocide, for wanton murder? Of course there have to be limits on this. And of course there have to be limits on this in the public square, so to speak. But not only there, it's elsewhere as well. Yes, I think that's very important. I think there are also organizations There are also individuals who are incited or inspired if that's the word to use, who go and produce this savagery. But there are also organizations, and that has to be addressed by the government. I think that you should monitor who you let in, but you should also take action against those you've already let in, who are promoting this and are planning more murders. I heard that there were, I haven't verified this, so I'm speaking just from news reports, that there were 5 more people who were apprehended near Bondi Beach. I believe you were there on that day, Sharri, weren't you?
Well, just last night, there were 4 men apprehended in southwest Sydney, so another area. But my understanding is that they were arrested by counter-terror police because it was believed that they were en route to Bondi. We don't know what their intention was. It was a precautionary measure, but these were individuals that were known to the intelligence agencies. They'd flown from Melbourne. So this is still a live situation. The operation is, or the investigation is continuing. But Prime Minister, a moment ago you mentioned acting on intelligence. The Australian government must act on intelligence. There were media reports that Israel did have some intelligence on this attack that was shared with Australia. Are those reports correct? Was there any intelligence on the Bondi attack specifically, or something similar happening around Hanukkah?
No, I can't say that there was specific intelligence, but in my letter to Prime Minister Albanese a few months ago, I stated clearly, you're going to have this uptick. It's going to happen. There's no question about it. Look, where do these terrorists attack? You know, they try to attack us. They try to annihilate us on October 7th, and we roll them back, and we fight this whole terror axis sequentially and fairly successfully. So these terrorists are now looking for the places where Jews are vulnerable, where they're exposed, where they're not sufficiently protected. That's why they chose Australia. That's why they chose Bondi Beach, because, Bondi Beach, because there's no protection there. So you have to increase, number one, increase your intelligence. We'll be happy to cooperate, as we do, with Australia and with others to give more intelligence, but you should increase your own efforts. That's the first thing. The second thing is act on it. Apprehend the suspect. Don't allow them to get access to arms. Take forcible action against terrorist cells. Cooperate with Israel and with other governments. Take action and don't allow this unfettered hate speech to go on in your streets, in your public squares, because it's going to hit you too. And by the way, it starts with the Jews, but it never ends with the Jews. Anti-Semitism is a virulent disease, and it consumes the societies who don't fight it.
Look, you mentioned controlling your borders a bit earlier. We know that Australia had among the highest intake of Gazans during the middle of this war. Do you think that's a concern as well, that we're letting in anti-Semitism through our borders?
I think you have to monitor those whom you let in. And I wouldn't say, I think you can look at it both individually and in terms of risk assessment. I won't get into that, although I think that's an important function. But you see, you're not immune and you're not secure. And the fact that today they murder Jews, tomorrow they'll murder non-Jews. But the important thing is you have to take resolute action. I said, wake up to this world. This world is now, there's a battle raging in the world between the forces of modernity and moderation and the forces who want to take us back to the early Middle Ages. That's what these people are about. Now, they hate Israel. They hate Jews. Let me tell you, they also hate Australia. Yeah. They burn our flag, but they'll burn your flag, and they'll burn you. Yeah. So understand that they're against our common civilization. And if you just sit back and say, well, no, we can let this go. No, it won't let you go. If you flee from terrorism, it will chase you, and it will hunt you down. So what you have to do is the opposite. You have to hunt the terrorists down, and you have to prevent them from carrying out their grisly deeds.
Just finally, Prime Minister, the Jewish Australian community is deeply hurting. We're fearful. Are there any words of comfort you can offer to Australian Jews?
First of all, I share their grief. It's really tears your heart out when you see what happened. These people who are out there to light Hanukkah candles. That's all they were going to do. They were going to light candles for hope, for a bright future. What I'd say to them is this. We have to, as we mourn the dead, we have to remember the power of our life. Hanukkah celebrates the victory of the Maccabees. And 2,200 years ago, there were other people who wanted to destroy the Jews and wipe them off the face of the earth. And a band of 5 brothers, they're the Maccabees, band of 5 brothers, each gave their lives, and we secured a victory over a great force, much greater than these people. That's the example that we should have. We embrace one another. We know that in doing so, we not only are willing to defend ourselves, but we defended civilization. The Maccabean revolt, Hanukkah, that we celebrate, made Judaism possible, and that made Christianity possible. So when we celebrate Hanukkah, we're celebrating effectively the people and the event and the victory that saved Judeo-Christian civilization, which is the basis of our free civilization today. So join us, Australia, in fighting the terrorists and fighting the enemies of civilization and fighting the barbarians. If we join forces together, I have no doubt we shall win.
Prime Minister, thank you very much for your time and for your words of strength. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's Sharri Markson speaking to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier this morning.